Hello everyone. Today I'm over in the corner of our property and I have an ongoing problem with my shallow well irrigation system that I really need to solve. I've done a few videos on this pump system in the past and you may have seen them if you follow this channel. This system waters the garden and the flower beds around our house. Briefly, here's what we have. Off to the side, in the lowest point of the property, we have a shallow hand-dug well made of stacked concrete rings going down about 15 feet. There's a 1-inch black poly line with a foot valve hanging in the well just about to the bottom. That line runs through the wall of the well and up the slope to the pump house. And it's inside a larger pipe for protection. In that line there's a drain valve just outside the pump house. After that, the pipe runs through the wall to the inlet of the 3/4 horsepower shallow well jet pump. When primed, the pump will draw water from the well and eject it out of the top 1-inch outlet. I have this plumbed with Schedule 40 PVC pipe. It has a melting point, or should we say a maximum working temperature of around 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And that bit of information will become more important as we go along. So, out of the top of the pump, I have a 1-inch standard cross fitting. On one side of the cross, water can flow into and fill a pressure tank. In the top of the cross fitting, I have a 1/2-inch ball valve for priming the pump. Then the other side of the cross goes through a slip fitting to a 1-inch ball valve, a spin-down coarse filter with drain, then another ball valve before it runs underground in a 1-inch black poly pipe out to the gardens and the house. We have timers, filters, and pressure reducers in the gardens that feed drip irrigation lines. These timers turn the water on twice a day and run for 10 minutes at a time. One thing that really helps us out in the dry summer is when my neighbor waters his field. It brings the entire water table up and it adds some extra water to our well. That's the sprinkler system you might be able to hear in the background. This pump is wired for 240 volts from this panel and is strong enough to draw the water from the well and send it some 200 feet or so to the garden and around the house beds. This pump has a pressure switch that ranges from 30 to 50 psi. It turns off at 50, then comes back on at 30. And this tank holds some reservoir water at pressure so the pump does not cycle on and off too much. And this pressure switch also will shut the pump off if the pressure drops below 10 psi. And this is the problem. Most of the time everything works great, but if the well runs dry, the pump will continue to run, overheat, melt the fittings, then stop. Water will spray everywhere as the fittings fail and the pressure finally plummets below 10 psi and the pump finally shuts off. Or there's a thermal switch in the motor that triggers the shutdown. Either way, the pump runs dry and the heat softens and destroys the fittings that attach to the inlet and outlet side of the cast iron housing. Now, this is a pretty specific problem to have, but I think anyone with a shallow well might run into this from time to time. So I hope this video could help someone out. And I'm embarrassed to say I've rebuilt these sections too many times without finding a solution to this issue. These are the ones before they get assembled. And here's the number that I've built over the years and that has melted. And there's that one, and there's that one, and there's that one, and there's that one. What have I been doing? Why? Here, I'll do some close-ups to show you what happens to these fittings when the pump runs dry and overheats. Let me just bring this camera in closer. Okay, so this is the two examples of the new fittings. This one is the inlet coming in from the well into the inlet, and this is the one that sits on top, and that's the outlet. This goes to the pressure tank, and this one goes to the garden, and on top here's the valve. So this is what they look like normally, and when they overheat, they get distorted and start to leak. You can kind of see the swelling that's happened in those pipes. Right up into the cross fitting here. You can see how swollen that one is compared, let me line these up, compared to that one. I don't know if you can see that so well. And then for the other one, you can see that there's quite a bit of swelling all through this fitting here compared to the new ones. I keep thinking I'll turn off the watering system before the well gets too low, catch it before it runs dry in the summer. But I miss that and have to keep replacing the melted fittings. Or if there's ever a leak in the system we didn't notice, like a leak underground and the pump just kept running, it would also run this shallow well dry. And I'm really surprised that this pump still works. It doesn't run quiet like it did when it was new, so I'm sure there's some damage inside and I'll have to replace it soon. So I've been scratching my head trying to find a way to switch off the pump if the well runs dry. I could rig up a float system inside the well that would control a switch in the pump house, but I can't find one that would work in my particular setup here. What I think would work is a thermostat on the pump that would shut it down if the housing temperature got too high, like it would in a run-dry situation. And it's just a coincidence that my last video featured a thermostat solution as well, the one I did modifying the RV roof vent fan. We happened to have an unusually dry spring, and I was pulling extra water from the well to add to my rainwater tanks, and I just overdid it, and the well ran dry a few days after that. I didn't give it enough recharge time. And that's my fault, and I just have to remedy the situation the best I can. So here's what I think will work. I will repurpose a clothes dryer thermostat and attach it to the motor housing of the pump. I picked up this thermostat from my local appliance repair shop, and it was only about 10 bucks. A clothes dryer typically has two thermostats, a cycle and a high limit thermostat. The cycle thermostat turns the heating element off between 120 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit, then on again when it's cooled down around 20 degrees. The high limit thermostat is to prevent a fire and cuts off at around 250 degrees, then back on around 80 degrees cooler. When I run this pump for 10 minutes, the motor housing gets up to around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. At 20 minutes, it's about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And I think if it gets any hotter, then cold well water is not running through the pump, and the motor will start to dramatically heat up. And this heat will spread through the cast iron water housing and soften the pipes. I think the cycle thermostat range should work to protect my pump from overheating. And these thermostats are designed to handle the voltage and current of a dryer, so this should work for this pump. I plan to secure the metal face of the thermostat to the motor housing on a flat spot, then wire it into the L1 wire from the fuse panel before it gets to the pressure switch. And I'll do my best to make the connections waterproof. Now, I'm not a licensed electrician or a plumber, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm a do-it-yourselfer that likes to tinker with projects like this, and I only work within my comfort zone. Also, I only want to switch the pump off if it's getting unusually hot and not just during normal operation. Before I do this, I want to run a test on this thermostat, and I'll do that in the workshop. With an electrical test meter, I can first check the continuity. When it's open, it reads 1, and when it's a closed circuit, it reads 0, or close to 0. So we can check that, apply it to each one of the terminals of the thermostat, and it's reading 0, so it's normally closed. So now I can wire it in here and we'll do that test. And then I'll put the thermostat on these two connections, and this is the black power connection that goes to the lamp, and then here I can set it, just bend this wire a bit, I can set it in this pan, and I'll plug the pan in and start warming it up. And I can also then plug in the circuit for the thermostat, and I have everything clear of the pan, and then I've got it set to about 200 degrees because the pan doesn't have equal heat all throughout. And then I've got a test meter. I can check the temperature here. So the pan currently is around 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's around 90 or so. So I'll just monitor this and see when the temperature hits around 160. This thermostat is rated for 155 degrees Fahrenheit. So at that point, the light should go off. And then if we turn the pan off and it cools for about 15 degrees, it should turn it back on. Okay. Yeah, so about 160 right underneath it. So actually I think it turned off just at the right time. I'll unplug the pan. I'll just lift the thermostat off the heat. There, it turned back on. And I'll set it back on here again. Turn the pan back on, try one more run. Oh, it turned off already. So what was that temperature right underneath it? Right underneath it, 150. 148, 150. So very, very close to what I expected here. And we'll let it cool off again. Now it's only cooling down by about 15 degrees, so it should click on there again. Okay, so I think that was a pretty good test. And it triggered right around 155 degrees, and that would be the motor housing temperature. I would expect the cast iron water housing to be cooler than that, so the pipes should be safe. And I also think that this temperature is well below what this motor could tolerate before causing it any damage. It survived this long, so it should be okay. Plus, when the power to the motor is cut and it cools down, and the thermostat power is restored to the motor, I don't think it will come back on, as the pressure in the pump would be below 10 psi, and the low pressure switch would trigger and keep the pump from starting again. With this testing complete, I can now attach it to the motor and wire it in. Hold on a minute, I'm just sort of getting ahead of myself. I need to talk about this pump here. This one is almost identical to my shallow well 3/4 horsepower pump. This one is 1/2 horsepower and it's connected to my rainwater tanks. So I can switch between the rainwater tank pump and the shallow well pump when there's a drought. And I need to go over some of the details of this pump because it's identical and easier to show you here. And it relates to how I'm going to attach this thermostat and where I want to put it on the pump. So this 1/2 horsepower pump came with its own smaller pressure tank. It has the same low cutout 10 psi switch here, and all the wiring is almost identical. It has a waterproof cover that sits on the top, and that's all identical to the 3/4 horsepower shallow well jet pump. The thermostat I'd like to mount somewhere on the housing so I pick up the temperature of the motor while it gets hot before the water housing gets hot. So I'd like to be able to mount this flat surface here, possibly right on the outside. I took the cover off to see if there's any way I could mount this on the inside, but I think it might just be too tight with the wiring that's here. So I have to sort of play around with this a little bit to see how this is going to work. Stay tuned. I've got a couple things to work out here. I decided to wire the thermostat directly from the terminals of the pressure switch. I removed the black wire and basically extended it to the tabs of the thermostat and back to the pressure switch. And I drilled 2 holes in the aluminum motor housing and looped a heat-resistant zip tie through to secure the thermostat and hold it tightly to that flat section. I'll seal up those holes with silicone, and I'll also add some at the point of contact, so that should keep it in place. These pump motors do have a thermal overload switch that is supposed to shut them down if they overheat. I contacted the manufacturer of these pumps and they stated that the thermal switch should trip at around 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I replied with this picture showing the outer housing above that with the pump still running. So I can't rely on the thermal protection built in. And that's obvious given the melted pipe collection I have. Perhaps that internal switch could be replaced, but I think I'd have to tear down the motor to do so. So I'll stick with what I'm doing here, as it's a simple external and easy to test and verify failsafe. Also, I mentioned at the beginning that the pressure switch on these pumps has an auto low pressure cutoff, and I said that it triggers at 10 psi, and that was incorrect. It's set to trigger at 11 psi lower than the cut-in or on rate. And for my switch, that's 19 psi. I did test that, and it triggers under a heavy load condition, that being with all my irrigation timers turned on and several garden hoses filling tanks. It does not seem to work if the well is running dry. You would think that the lack of water being drawn from the well would result in a pressure drop enough to trigger that auto low pressure cutoff. Anyways, I'll now add the thermostat to the pump down at the well the same way I did it with this pump. So I'm back down at the pump house and I have the thermostat wired in. And just like the half horsepower one, I have the wires running into the low pressure cutout switch, and I have the thermostat mounted on the same flat spot of the electrical motor housing, and it's got the zap strap around it. There's some silicone in the holes that I drilled into the housing, and I'll add a little bit more electrical tape to those connections. So I've had this running for a couple of weeks now. Everything seems to be okay. So I wanted to do a real-world dry run test with this by pulling the hose out of the well to see how hot the pump gets. But I don't have a replacement pump for this one yet, and I know this one's just about done. So at this time of year, I don't want to risk it, but I'll let it continue to run, and I'll put a blog post together at manaboutTools.com/pump where I'll put any updates or any update videos there. So you can also leave me a comment there in the comments section below or on that blog post. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.